Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I am Omar. I'll be your host today, and we're going to be talking about leadership when it comes to the smaller retail world environments. Doesn't mean we don't produce, it means that we're very niche in what we do. Think of appliances, think of AV, think of furniture, think of wireless. Okay, there's a lot more that we do, and there's a lot that we have to do as leaders to make sure that our salespeople are actually performing. And today, I want to talk about the fallacy of the write up as a coaching tool, as a way to leverage your leadership when teams aren't producing or aren't going the path that you're trying to get them to go down. Okay. And what this typically looks like, if you're new to the role as a multi-unit leader, think of an area manager, district manager, regional, whatever your title is, territory manager, it doesn't matter. Okay. If your default is I tell you once and then it's automatic write-ups from there, or sometimes you don't even tell them anything showcasing what your expectations are, you're just automatic to write-ups, 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 you're literally going to have your people just jumping ship. What you're showcasing to your people is that you don't know what you're talking about at all. You cannot communicate or verbalize or even get them to imagine what it is that you're trying to get them to produce, get them to do. You may have told them once. You may have told the entire group of your leaders once. And each person is literally taking something away that's different than what you personally imagined or showcased to them. Have a pen in my ear. Forgot about that. Uh, but that's the thing, guys. Think about that. I've talked about the telephone game before where you pass something on to one of your leaders and you ask them to pass it along, and then something happens in between. Some things get cut out, missed, and the communication is a little bit wayward and different from when your initial comment or expression of whatever it is was done. Okay, maybe it's like, hey, let's attack things this way. I want you guys to try this method because of such and such, because it's going to increase your close rates, it's going to get you more referrals, it's going to bring in more business, whatever the case is. Okay, maybe you've tried it and it's worked more often than anything else, so it's worth giving it a shot to try it. And there's nothing wrong with that. The approach that you take as a leader, because you have to inspire your teams to perform, and the way you inspire them to perform is you yourself have to actually showcase what your expectations are. Give them a demonstration of what it is. Two, you have to get them to actually do the action. And three, you're going to help correct the action in real time. It's a feedback loop. And there's a way that we correct where it's not, you did this wrong, this is that. Okay. You start off somewhere along those lines, but there's a point where you have to allow them to be the ones to correct themselves. And that's when you understand that they've actually achieved it and they actually understand what they're doing. If you've only said it once, but you didn't even showcase what you expect out of them or how to do what you're expecting them to do, you're not even giving them the tools to do what you're asking them to do. Whether it's a specific sales method, whether it's attaining a specific sales metric, a certain KPI. And guys, as a leader, you need to understand something. You cannot be hounding your team for 10 different KPIs in the same fucking message. If everything is an emergency, if everything is important, then nothing is important. You have to be strategic about what you're going after. It doesn't mean that the messaging can't be off a little bit every single day where you're trying to focus on something different. But you should also understand the strengths and weaknesses of each of your teams and their locations. If you know certain teams are better at closing certain KPIs, but they struggle with a particular KPI, but the majority of your team doesn't, then you can one off that conversation with them and focus on the stuff that's actually going to move the whole group as a whole. But you have to understand how to be able to communicate to different groups, different individuals differently. because the same messaging doesn't work for everybody. People will take things differently and will only remember certain parts of it. So when you're doing your visits, this is why you cannot be an absent in this environment. You cannot be an absent leader. You have to be an impactful leader. So you have to think of it yourself. When I go to your location, what is the most impactful thing I can do there? Keep it to no more than three things that you're going to showcase or do. Because once you start trying to do more than three things, you're doing way too much. And there's a lot more things going on that your team can't focus on doing at the same time, especially in these environments where you may be lacking the personnel to have full court coverage. What does that mean? You guys know exactly what I mean. You get flooded with customers and you just don't have enough people to actually be able to get to everybody. You have customers walking out saying, you know what, I'll just get it online or I'll go somewhere else to get it because I have questions. And obviously, I've been waiting here for an hour and nobody else can help me. Okay. That's not a reputation you want to have. When things are going great and your teams are performing, guys, you will have the budget to actually bring more headcount in. And that's only going to increase the revenue coming into the location. The idea that by cutting the amount of personnel that you have is the key and answer, especially once you're salespeople, is not always the correct approach. It's the first you go to when you have no training and development programs, when you're bleeding revenue and opportunities because you're not taking the time to actually train your people up, not just in the processes, not just in the sales methods, but hell, even in the product knowledge. Your people have to have some fucking understanding of what they're offering because in those nuances, there's going to be opportunity that they could uncover that opens up a brand new world. And that's what you have to look at. Because if you're treating your sellers as literal entry level order takers, then they're not even scratching the surface of what we could actually create, what we can actually accomplish alongside those customers, alongside those clients. We're doing them a disservice because we're not able to offer them actually what they're kind of looking for. We're not able to uncover those needs and questions that they actually have because a lot of your customers, a lot of your clients don't truly understand what they're asking for or what is truly available for them that they could benefit from. And that's the kind of things you have to do. Because once you start training your people up that way, you will have people that will be a seller for years because they just produce so much without having to do actual work because it doesn't feel like work. The days of those, yeah, there's this seller and he's produced, X number of sales every single day and world breakers, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of, those individuals that can sell one or two cars every single day of the year that they work. Where you have a bunch of other people that can barely scrape by and sell five cars, or barely scrape by and sell one or two home theaters in a month. But you have these guys that are constantly working on projects every single day that are getting installed and delivered, closed. And that doesn't happen by accident. Okay. And that's where you as a leader have to understand. When I am going through and I'm bringing something new that I want my teams to actually do, I need to have that conversation. I need to then do essentially breakouts. When I do my store visits, I need to be quick. I need to make sure that I do those store visits within the next 2-3 days, the week at the latest, right? Especially if you have smaller clusters, it needs to be soon. And then have that conversation with those leaders. Make sure that they understand what you expect and they understand how you're going to inspect those expectations. Because just telling them is not setting the expectation. Just you telling them is not setting the standard. That's a cop out. That's well, I told you once. Yeah, you told me once 3 fucking months ago and you never brought it up. So how do I know that that was still what we're doing when, it's not something that's been reported on. It's not something that is coming up. Now you're getting on my case because we haven't been doing it the way that you told me to fucking 9 months ago? 3 months ago? Guys, You have to inspect it, and then you have to reinforce it. And it takes time. You're building a habit that has to be reinforced and has to be created. And once they see the first success from that, guys, they will continue it. But you have to get them there first. It's like learning how to swim. You expect to just throw them in the deep end, and for them who have maybe never seen that body of water before, or a body of water in this respect of what we're talking about on those skills, and they're trying to, stay afloat, that's essentially what you're doing to them. We said, hey, I told you what to do. Great. But did you actually exemplify? Did you give me an example? Did you showcase how you want it done? No? Okay. Then let me break it down. And then I want you to do it. And I want you to give me feedback on what your thoughts are, on what you did great, what we could work on, and what your action plan to work on it's going to be. And then how are you going to implement it with your team? Give me 3 quick breakdowns of what you're going to do. It can be that simple. It doesn't have to be a fucking 8-hour session, but you have to break it down, and you have to make sure that your team can actually give you that feedback and explain to you what you expect of them. Because oftentimes, guys, it's not that our teams don't want to perform or that they don't want to do what we're asking them to do. It's they don't know how to get there because they don't know what they don't know. So you have to make it stupid simple. You might get lucky and you may have a couple of people that, hey, actually can get it because they've done something similar or they're the ones who brought it to your attention in the first place. But leverage that, because if you have people that understand it, instead of you being the one that constantly has to be the one that gives all this, you can now relay that and have them be the ones that help you pass this along and be able to help others as well. And now you got locations reaching out to each other. Now you got leaders helping one another to actually perform better. And once they get that first aha, like, oh, this is what you meant, this is how it's supposed to be done, this is what you're looking for, great. Now that shit gets done, and simple as that. Okay? But if your first knee jerk reaction is, I told you once, now it's a write up, when especially if it's a new fucking initiative, guys, those take a little bit longer for everybody to come around. And they have to be reinforced multiple times. And they will eventually get it. But you can't think of it this way, guys. You can't go to the fucking gym after never going to the gym or after years of not going to the gym and expect that one day, okay, I'm going to go one day and that's my habit and I'm going to continue this going forward every single time. No. You went once. Great. Now we have to create that willpower, and then we also have to be able to get there. Because if you went ham and your body is completely sore, you can go there again, but you're not going to do yourself any good because you're going to fail because your body is too sore. We're asking them to exercise their brain and exercise parts of the brain that they may have never used before. That is why it seems so difficult when you might think it's easy because you may have been doing this for a while. Or you might say, oh, okay, I understand this. I can do this. But then you never do it. So when you don't do it, what is your team supposed to do? It is not you know, this is kind of like a monkey see, monkey do. You're the monkey just telling them, but they don't see it. So because they don't see it, they don't do it. You have to learn how to exemplify what you're asking them to do. You have to learn how to get them to bridge that over from the knowledge gap of they don't know to I have a better understanding and I actually understand what you're wanting from this. Because that is the missing gap. You might think they just don't want to do it, but they're feeling that they don't have the support. They're feeling that I don't know how to go about this. Especially if you have multiple teams, multiple leaders. Every single one of them will take something different from your trainings, from your in person or your online meetings or whatever you're doing. And many of them will not speak up, especially if they have no trust in you. Guys, as a leader, if your team does not speak up when you're asking them questions or when they, you know, asking them to like give their thoughts, if they say no comment or nothing, oftentimes, especially when it's something new, that's a sign that you do not have your team's trust. And that is bad for you as a leader because that means you're going to fucking bleed employees. And then you're going to be wondering why you can't keep performance up. And you're going to be wondering why you're constantly seeing, you know, people turn over. Why it's hard for people to come on board and actually stay. If you think people don't see those online applications over and over or the open jobs over and over and over again, and you wonder why they're not applying, a lot of people see that and they understand, oh, I saw this job closed and it's open again. I saw this job closed and it's open again for the same locations or for the same territory. It does raise red flags for a lot of people. Good salespeople as well aren't that stupid. So you have to make sure that your teams truly understand. And you, as a leader, have to do everything you can to lift your team up. Okay? That is what it means to actually have your team's best interest. So stop just barking orders. Start ensuring your team truly understands what you're asking them to do and being a pillar for your teams. So, guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. Go ahead and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Sales Manager Academy podcast. Once again, thanks. And don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.